All right. Welcome to another episode of the Unshakable podcast, real, raw, and vulnerable. We are doing the last of the toxic 10 traits. We've been through so much so far. Last, but definitely not least, and probably one of the most prevalent is imposter. That imposter stuff will get in our way, or not really that. It's you're going to get in your own way through the imposter feelings. I watch so many people go through that on the daily and have to really lift them out of that moment and say, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, because how you believe about yourself is the energy you'll show up within the world. And that will either draw blessing towards you or push blessing away from you, depending on what you're believing in your subconscious and even in your conscious about yourself. And so honestly, guys, this is urgent. This is urgent stuff to go through, not just to write out, say, oh yeah, this is just imposter. There's that thing. And I just have to let it sit there in my gut. No, let's actually deal with it. Let's actually bring it out on the table and deal with it so that it doesn't hold you back anymore. So Amber, I know we've been walking through so many things. I know that you have some thoughts on this straight out of the gate. So I want to give you some platform to really dive in. So yeah, unleash, girly, unleash. Tell me your thoughts.
All right. First, I'm going to kick it back to you for a minute because would you define imposter syndrome? How would you define that in a way that will make sense? Most of our listeners will get it right away because they'll be like, oh yeah, some of them might not. And so could we just have a working definition?
Oh, that's interesting. All right. So this is going to be what Joseph McClendon calls a rectal pull. In other words, pulling it out of my butt. But I will tell you this is what I feel, or what I discern it to be, is when you know you're called to something bigger, you're supposed to do something bigger, but inside you just know that you're not enough, or maybe you're not prepared, or really you think that what you're stepping into, you have to kind of put on a show to be it. And so what it is there's an incongruency or an incompatibility between the way you're stepping out in risk compared to the way you feel you truly are. And what that does is it creates this tension, these tension of conflicting beliefs. I really want to step into this thing, or I really want to show up this way, but God, I don't belong here. I should not be here. And I tell you, that hinders so much because you show up just a little bit smaller when you walk into a room with those beliefs going on in the back of your mind. And so I watched my husband go through it. I know that I can do this job, but I don't have XX thing that goes with it. And so then I'm not enough. And so then I'll make myself smaller. So I would say overarchingly, that's what I see it as. I see how it plays out in so many different ways. But it really is saying I don't believe how I'm having to show up in the world is really as good as I am. I'm not really that good. So I guess the core belief behind that is I'm not enough.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I think just that is it. It's showing up with that incongruency, right? I've been given a seat at this table, but I don't think I deserve it. And so even talking about it, I can feel the tension. I can feel the this door is open, this opportunity is here. And then with that can come this I have to hide what I don't think is enough inside of me. And so what I'm seeing it as we put on this really chunky, big mask and we're shrinking behind it because it's what if they knew, right? What if they knew that I didn't really belong here? And so it can create a lot of fear and a lot of tension. And I think that phrase, I don't belong here, is huge because in our humanity, that is one thing that we're craving, is this place to belong and to really a place to take off the mask and just be who we are. And so in these situations, these opportunities, I remember, I'm going to go back before we go forward. I was on staff at a church and we would have staff meetings, and it was a season that was just really difficult. I was either too much or not enough in any of those meetings, and I just couldn't find the balance for everybody else. So I stopped trying to find it. But I walked in one day and I had this just heaviness on my shoulders of oh my gosh, I don't belong at this table. They don't want me at this table. What am I doing here? And I stopped before going in and I had to remind myself, like, whoa, I have been given a seat at this table. I bring an expertise here that nobody else has. And I do deserve a seat at this table. So I'm going to take my seat at this table. And I went in that day first feeling really small. And I remember standing outside the door of the staff meeting room, like, I got to get this together. Because I'm going to continue shrinking if I don't step in and proudly take my seat, and not in a pride way, but in a like, I am here, right? I can take up space here. And that was such a pivotal moment for me to realize. And one thing that it did too is it was like, man, there are so many tables where people are sitting around them thinking they don't belong there. And what if part of what I bring is to pull up a chair for someone else and to let them feel welcome? And so I think that was one of my first like steps out of imposter syndrome, right? Because it was like, whoa, I'm going to stop here and reframe this so that I don't keep moving down this road. Yeah. So I think it's just a huge thing for us to unpack. Rebecca, would you like to add anything in, any thoughts before I talk about current imposter syndrome that's speaking up?
No, I love that you share that story, Amber, because I remember walking with you during that time and how that tension just was so prevalent there. You could almost cut it with a knife. It was so tense, but it's been a journey for you ever since, just looking at that. And so honestly, I'm on the edge of my seat waiting to hear the newest and best story that you have to share with us.
Oh, yes. So I was telling Rebecca as we were prepping for today, we were talking through imposter syndrome a little bit, and I was like, you know what? It's interesting that today is the day for that topic. I am preparing to attend a retreat this weekend with some ladies from my area who are amazing ladies, and they carry healing and freedom in really unique and beautiful ways. They've been on their own healing journeys. They love to help others along the way of their healing journey. And honestly, all of these ladies were handpicked by the lady that's running the retreat. She has a little cabin and she like handpicks who's going to fill the beds. And she reached out to me. And so I'm like preparing and I'm like, I don't know if I belong here. In my, like, honestly, there's that little pull inside of me that's like, whoo, what if I can just go and like take up minimal space? What if I can just step back and like highlight everyone else? Or what, like, what if I can just hide? And I think that the imposter syndrome, right? It wants us to hide. Because the feeling underneath the thought is, I'm not good enough to be here. And we have to break through that. But I think it's interesting talking about this because I'm like, this is me. If I'm honest, this week, I feel like an imposter. And what's it going to take for me to get in my car on Friday and drive up 2 hours to this retreat center? It's going to take a crap ton of courage. Honestly, it's like you get 30 seconds, right? Like make the decision, put my stuff in the car and go, because it would be so easy to back out. And how many times do we do that in life? If we're honest, like I don't belong here, but instead of being honest with how we're feeling and what we're thinking and sharing it with someone, we just back away. Like, oh, I'm going to have to cancel plans or whatever. Yeah. So it's super real. It's super real. Even now, after all those years of knowing I have a seat at the table, it's still very real.
I'm curious, what is the belief that is driving that fear in you, that imposter in you? What is the underlying belief that's causing that?
Yeah, the thing that I keep coming to is that I am afraid that I won't add enough value. Like, I'm afraid that I think that's it. Like, that's as I've been preparing for my section of the retreat, right? Because we all get to lead a section. And so it's really like, it's just going to be so beautiful. But my fear is I'm not going to add enough value.
Wow. Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. That's so, to me, as a friend for so long, it makes me giggle because like, when and in what place have you ever not added enough value? Like, I've known you since like you were in college,
Yes,
and
yes,
I've never see you not provide value, like incredible value in whatever arena you're in. Sometimes almost too much, where
yes,
where you'll carry things that you shouldn't be carrying even, but somewhere that creeped in,
yes.
somewhere that belief. I'm curious, you know, who taught you that?
Oh man, yeah. Another way of asking that, right, is whose voice is that? Who's
Hmm.
telling me I'm not having value? Oh, I don't know who taught me that. Yeah, because logically I know, right? And so like in my head, I'm like, no, Jenny would not have invited me if she didn't think I had added value. Every time I see her, she says something like, I love your energy, Amber. I love the energy you bring to the table. Like there, like, so there is something. I think though, I have a hard time defining what that something is, especially when it's called out in terms of energy, right? Like I know I bring energy to the table and I'm warm and welcoming and positive and all of these things that people need, and that are valuable. But it feels like it's tangible. Like I'm looking for something tangible. And so as I'm preparing, I'm like, what will make them cry? What will make them, right? How will I know I've added value? And I think that's the wrong question, because what that's going to do is keep me striving for something that I don't even have defined. Right? Because if value is like they sit with me and their whole life has changed, that takes more than one sitting, usually. Sometimes.
Yes.
Sometimes it happens quickly, right? But I don't know these ladies' stories either. I don't know where they've been or what they're going through. I don't know what they need. Do they need a little more Amber in their life? Probably, or I wouldn't be there. But I so desire to bring enough value. It's like going to a buffet, right? Or a church potluck or whatever. And like you bring the dish and nobody touches it. And you're like, well,
Oh, I hate
shoot.
that.
I know, like, A, I don't want to take this home, and B, I thought you all would like it. Or like you see all the plates on top of the trash can and you see your pasta salad mixed in with it and you're like, well, dang it.
That always sucks. That sucks.
So I'm feeling a little bit like that. Like, what if what I'm bringing to the buffet gets thrown away? And honestly, what if it does? Does that
Hmm.
mean that I didn't bring value?
No,
Not at all.
I don't think it means that. I also don't think that, when I'm going to play hardball with you because
Yeah.
I'm your friend and I can. I don't think that your energy or what they're saying about your energy is really tangibly just warm and welcoming. I think there's
Mm.
something very much deeper that when somebody's in your presence, like in the environment that you create, it's much deeper than just warm and welcoming. I
Mm.
think you're being too surface level when you talk like that. There's something deeper that you bring just by your mere presence, and some of it is that it brings me back to the analogy of you being the front porch.
Yeah.
You know, like it allows the person, I'm kind of seeing this like coming in and all the muscles in the body are just really, really tight. And then when somebody gets around you one by one, the muscles start loosening up. And that's like, not just, it's not physically I'm talking,
Yeah.
that's really the metaphor for it, is how, all of a sudden the shoulders loosen and everything just, and I think it's even deeper than you provide safety. It's not that.
Right.
I mean, it is that, but it's not that. There's an unwinding that can happen when somebody takes off their muddy boots and they sit on the porch and they relax. So I don't know, maybe I'm verbally processing, but I'm seeing this like maybe you really getting to the root of what you actually bring just before you even open your mouth.
Yeah.
Because that's the value you bring, is before you speak, something is there, something is present. It actually reminds me of a meeting I was in earlier today. I was like getting so much value, but it wasn't by the teaching. It wasn't by what was being said. It was actually just being in the environment that actually caused shifts inside of me that made me feel bigger and feel more. And I think that's how you do it. You're just sitting there on the porch waiting for somebody to show up, take off their muddy boots and unravel and rebuild.
Yeah.
And then you teach. And then you bring the other value.
Yeah.
Right? So it's interesting just to take a look at even the stories we tell ourselves. I bring warm and inviting. I'm like, girl, there's so much more than that. Come on, we have to laugh now. Like when we highlight this,
Yes.
we have to just laugh like, oh yes, I'm just a good hostess. That's really what that said. And I'm like, girl, okay, we got to talk about this like right now. So I just put you on the spot. I'd love to let you respond to this.
Yes, no, I appreciate it. And I think it's beautiful for so many reasons, but this is for our viewers too. Like, this is it. Get down to it. Find out what is the value that you bring, because you do bring value. Right? And if I really truly knew from the bottom of my stomach, right, the pit of my stomach, that I was going to show up and bring a value to these ladies this weekend, the imposter syndrome would have no room to be. And so it's interesting, even talking about it, we can focus on imposter syndrome and we got to kill it and it's the inner critic and whatever. Or we can shift our focus to actually, this is how you show up. This is what you bring. This is what you have that they need. This is why you have a seat at the table. And when that becomes our story, when that becomes part of who we are, imposter syndrome doesn't even fit anymore. And so I feel like we just unraveled it a little bit, like,
it's interesting because I really even want to consider maybe not even, I don't think it's important how you got in the room or why you're there. It's just the fact that you are. Carpe diem, seize the day. You said seize the day. And I was like, who cares about why? It's actually just to get that certainty inside of your own body, inside of yourself. There's obviously a reason why. So I'm just going to play full out.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how I got here. Because there are many times I've ended up in rooms like, why, and I'll sit there with it and I'm like, that is the wrong focus. Mm-hmm. That's the wrong question I'm asking myself. Just seize the day. Just show up, play full out in whatever environment you are gifted to find yourself in, because all of it is learning and growth. And so you go take up the space you're designed to take up. In any room you're designed to take up room in. And don't worry about the why.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah, because we could get stuck on the why or the how forever. Uh-huh. And that can be a cycle that plays in our heads.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of times when we're thinking about what is the value I bring, sometimes, now a lot of times, we're gifted in the way we're gifted. And a lot of times the way that a person's been gifted, they write that off as this is easy. Yeah. And it's not creating value. But what they don't realize is the other people are not gifted like you are. And so they're receiving it as value when you're thinking, oh, this is just like washing my hands at the sink. It's not a big deal. No worries. Right. But other people are like, God, I wish I could do that. Mm. I wish I could grow like that. I wish I could. And so I want to encourage our listeners today is like, hey, consider what you find to be incredibly easy. Mm. And maybe recognize, hey, it might not be easy for everyone else. And that might help you to uncover and dig up what value you're truly bringing.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And then, I'm thinking too, it's funny, this is a totally like non-emotional, but my dad does an annual lake day with his kids and grandkids. And this year I have to learn how to drive the boat.
Oh,
because we need a second driver, right? And so I'm even thinking about that. I'm like, that feels a little like imposter, right? Like, but honestly, I've been driving cars for how long? Like, really, it's people go out and rent boats all the time and all of that. And so it's that I'm thinking like it's that seize the day, right? Like if I do drive the boat because I'm the backup driver or the only driver, whatever that looks like, I get to be in a boat with my kids and my nieces and nephews and my sister and my sister-in-law, and we get to enjoy being together and we'll make the most of it, right? And so, and I have to take a class online. So I'm going to learn what I need to learn, right? And then I'm going to do that. And so I think that that's part of that too, where it's like, we're going to be invited to places and to do things that are just out of our reach. And you have a choice then. You can sit and stay stuck in the, I'm not good enough, I can't be here. Or you can take the 30-minute class, take the test, and get the keys to the boat and grab a hold of it.
what an incredible metaphor, Amber. I love it. I love it. Okay, so I would say the elixir, the magic elixir to feeling like an imposter is to recognize the value that you carry and walk confidently in it.
Yeah.
And just take the step out courageously. For me, it's the key is to unravel what's going on in the subconscious and all of those inner war that keep us really struggling. So any last thoughts before we wrap up today? This is going to be a little shorter one, but
yeah, no, this was good. I'm glad we would talk through it. I think that I would just encourage that question of whose voice is that or who taught you that. When you're unraveling that stuff inside of you, really hold on to that because those aren't accidents, those things that you tell yourself. And so really pay attention to who first taught you that, because I think that's a key in really getting able to break free. And then even look at that, like, I don't belong here. What's the truth? And list out the truths, right? Like, these are the things that are true and hold on to that. And so I feel like today is a lot of like, we're shifting away from these subconscious limiting beliefs. So we're shifting away from imposter syndrome. And we just want you to move towards embracing who you are, embracing that truth, and embracing the value that you bring. Yeah, whether you fully recognize it or not, because I don't think anyone's ever going to fully recognize their value. But it is about, are you going to embrace it and let everything else just float away?
well, that was well said, Amber. Thank you for so vulnerably, real, raw, and vulnerable sharing your story with us. And I know you've put me on the spot on a couple of these episodes of like, let's deal with stuff right here. I love that is, hey, let's just walk this out loud. And so sometimes it may be like, oh, this is, this is being preserved, right? But then my hope is that what we're doing here is that will help you as listeners to do what you need to do in your life. So I hope this blessed you today. I can't wait to catch you again next week. All right. We'll talk to you later. Bye.